Hello, everyone, and welcome to Marvel-ous Movie Mondays with Kelsey and Dill, particularly the Stan Lee Awards. I am one of your co-hosts of this award ceremony and podcast, Dylan.
And I'm your other co-host, Kelsey.
Yeah, welcome everyone to the awards. This is going to be the most nonchalant, laissez-faire award show you've ever been to because Kelsey hasn't even seen all the nominees. I don't know which are her nominees. It's a big. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
We're gonna figure it out as we go. It's gonna be great.
So what we did basically is we broke down all these different categories, and Kelsey chose 3 movies or people, depending on the category she wanted to represent. I chose 3. We put them together. If we chose the same 3, then there are only going to be 3 nominees in the category, but that only happened once or twice. And then the rest of the categories, so say I picked 3 people and Kelsey picked 3 totally different people, that's 6 nominees for the category. And then we will just talk it out, talk about the category, what we might have not included, what we included, and then choose our winner here on air. I figured it'd be more fun to choose it and talk it out rather than just choose it off air and just announce winners. Otherwise, it'd be like a 10-minute video. So, Kelsey, any thoughts before we get into it?
I would like to say, if you're listening on audio, then you don't know, but we did dress up for the occasion. So I just want to shout out that we are looking quite dapper. We don't have our normal Marvel attire, which is just like a t-shirt. I do look very like a human woman.
Right. I'm going more of like Bruce Banner pre-Hulk.
Ooh, yeah.
I haven't busted out yet, but
I get those vibes.
Yeah. No tie, just easy collar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You look dapper, Dill.
Thank you. So as you saw, it is the Stan Lee Awards. So we figured the first category had to be the best Stan Lee cameo. So the nominees are Avengers Age of Ultron, drunk man at the bar. The Captain America Civil War Tony Stank delivery man. Captain America the Winter Soldier's Smithsonian worker. Iron Man 2, Larry King. Or Thor Ragnarok, the barber. So as you see, there are 5 nominees, which means there's one of these cameos that we both agreed on, Kelsey. What are you thinking overall in terms? Great category. It's hard to narrow it down.
Yeah. Honestly, I knew you were gonna do the Tony Stank one. I knew that because you love that one.
Yeah.
I just thought of the cameos that I don't know. I feel like were the most maybe iconic or the funniest to me.
Mm-hmm.
To me, the funniest one is when he walks into the Smithsonian and he says, "I'm so getting fired for this."
Mm-hmm.
That's my personal favorite.
Yeah, so that's the one you're campaigning for. The one we both chose was the Age of Ultron one, and I think it's honestly probably the longest. That's probably the longest one of the 5. Like that's a good scene because he has that talk at the bar, and then you have him drinking that thing and then being escorted out, which I just think is hilarious. So
Excelsior.
Excelsior.
That's so funny. I did not think you were even going to think of that one at all.
Yeah. So and my other 2 I chose, of course, were the barber because Thor Ragnarok. That's hilarious. But just because it's another zany performance, and then Tony Stank. I just think it's funny. I think Tony Stank is kind of in line with your Larry King one, where it's like this tiny little thing.
Yes. I love the Larry King one just because it's it happens so quick, and you realize in that moment, Stan Lee looks a lot like Larry King.
He does. So Kels, what are you leaning toward? Oh, did I not bring my drink? Oh, I was looking for a fresh sip of seltzer. There it is, Excelsior. I didn't know where I put it. Kelsey,
where are you going with this?
What are you leaning toward here for the winner?
Well, I think it's funny that we both picked the Age of Ultron one, so I feel like maybe that's the clear winner. But
I'm leaning toward it. Do you want to go for it?
You know what? I think that's the winner.
And the Stan Lee Award for the best Stan Lee cameo goes to Avengers Age of Ultron. Congratulations, Stan. Up there, you won an award at your own award show that we named after you. All right, moving on now. I figured this one will get out the gate early because I think there's a clear favorite, but I might be wrong. So we're going to transition to the best score or soundtrack. And the nominees are Avengers Endgame, Black Panther, Captain Marvel, and Guardians of the Galaxy. Kelsey chose, I believe, Captain Marvel, Black Panther, and Guardians. I chose Avengers Endgame, Black Panther, and Guardians. Black Panther won Best Score at the Oscars. Guardians, of course, has a great soundtrack. I chose Avengers Endgame because of that portal sequence, just that music when it swells.
Yeah.
All those little, and then the funeral music is just beautiful. But tell me, what are your thoughts on this category?
So this is score soundtrack.
Yeah, like the
And
best
then
use
we
of
have
music in the movie.
a best sound category, which is something different.
Sound is just like sound effects, whereas this is like
See,
the music.
you're the movie expert, Dill. Like, I don't really know. Like, I'm like, what's the difference between the score and the soundtrack?
Right. Well, the
Um,
score is like the musical composition. The soundtrack is songs chosen for the movie. So, I mean, I think the
right.
clear favorite here is Guardians, just because that
Yeah.
soundtrack is so solid.
Yeah.
But let me
Yeah.
know if you think there's another. I mean, I love Black Panther, the use of the different tribal music sounds, but I
Yeah,
don't know about
it's
that.
just the soundtrack in Guardians is just incorporated so well. Like James Gunn has said in like interviews and stuff, like he purposely writes in like when the needle drop happens, like he writes
Hmm.
it into the script as he goes.
Cool.
Captain Marvel, I just have to shout out just because the epic end scene fight battle is to Just a Girl by No
Yeah.
Doubt. And if you just listen to the lyrics of that song, like you're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Um so I just had to shout out Captain Marvel. I knew that even though I was giving it the nom, it wasn't going to win, but I wanted to
Right.
give it like an honorable mention almost. So
I
I
think we
think
have
the
a clear
clear
favorite.
winner is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Why don't you announce it, Kelsey?
Okay, and the Stanley Award goes for best score or soundtrack goes to Guardians of the Galaxy.
Congratulations, James Gunn and crew, for assembling that soundtrack. Okay, so like you just said, the whole last action sequence is set to music in Captain Marvel. So why don't we just transition right to action itself and talk about the action sequence in the MCU? Now, this is tough. We each had 3 different picks, so there's 6
Oh,
nominees here. Hmm.
wow.
So, and we have
Wow.
two from the same movie, actually. So, it'll be really interesting. Here are the nominees for best action sequence. The nominees are Black Widow, Yelena versus Natasha, Captain America Civil War airport fight, Captain
Mm.
America the Winter Soldier elevator fight, Captain
Mm.
America the Winter Soldier knife fight, Iron Man 3 rescuing the passengers from the plane, and Spider-Man Far From Home, Peter gets his tingle back. So, Kelsey, these are some really, really great nominees. I mean,
Yeah,
how do you
yeah, this is a
choose?
stack category.
Yeah,
It's
give me your
so
thoughts.
funny that you were texting me because you were like, "Hey, just, specify which fight scenes you're talking about because I only gave you the movies at first." And as you were asking me this, I was in the midst of watching Iron Man 3 and I was like, "There's some epic fight stuff in this too." Like,
Yeah,
"Oh my gosh, this is a hard category."
right.
Um, I don't know. This is hard.
Well, why
What
don't
are
we
you
narrow it down?
thinking?
Let's narrow it down to our personal favorite. So my favorite
Okay.
out of the 3 I chose, I mean, that airport sequence is so epic. It was between that or like the Bucky, Cap, Iron Man trio fight.
Yeah.
But that scene is so epic. But I think it's also
Mm.
epic because of just the banter as well, not necessarily the action itself.
Sure,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, and I love the falling passengers. That's always been one that I'm like always like y'all are sleeping on it because it's a great sequence. But I really do think I'm going to be championing. I guess that's the word. The elevator fight from Captain America: The Winter Soldier because it's just so
Oh,
awesome. The quarters are so close, and just the way he's able to take them all down and then just walk out of there with the shield. It's just epic to me
yeah,
because of the actual choreography of the fight itself. But Kelsey, tell me what you feel in
it's
terms of your
really
three.
an iconic one. That's tough. You pick I saw that and I was like, "Ooh, that's a good pick." My 3 were the knife fight from Captain America. Oh, Natasha and Yelena's fight from Black Widow
And then Spider-Man.
and then the Spider-Man. That's a good one too. I feel like you're overlooking that one.
Because you've also got all the different drones and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, that and it's like, the thing that he was overcoming the whole movie finally like
True.
falls into place kind of thing.
Hmm.
I think my favorite out of my 3 has to be the Captain America knife fight. That is an epic fight. It is
So
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 cool.
we agree that Captain America: Winter Soldier has the best action sequence,
Yeah,
but it's
for
a matter
sure.
of which one. Um, I think honestly
Oh,
though, because of contextually with the story, because if we're talking action choreography, both are very well choreographed. If we're
mhm.
talking the actual substance of the action sequence in the rest of the story, I think honestly your fight has a lot more emotional resonance because it's Bucky and Cap.
Yeah.
It's the first time he's really seeing him, right? Is this the first time?
Yeah, it's like they do the whole fight, his mask falls off, and that's when he says, "Bucky," and he's like, "Who the hell's
Right.
Bucky?"
And then they fight. So I
Yeah.
think that just has a little bit more emotional resonance, even though I think the elevator fight for me is a little cooler. I mean, also Sebastian Stan's doing his own knife choreography. So I'm very
Yeah.
okay giving it to that if you're okay with it.
I would love to give the Stanley
All
to
right, Kelsey, it's
my
your pick.
pick.
So why don't we announce it?
And the Stanley Award for Best Action Sequence goes to Captain America: The Winter Soldier knife fight.
That's right. This is going well. We're on a good pace. We have some good
Yeah, I
winners.
thought this was gonna be way more aggressive. No, it's
No,
all
because
good
they're all
vibes at
good.
the Stanley Awards.
And we're some of the below the belt categories. Just wait till we get just wait a little while. I might get a
Alright,
little more
maybe I
aggressive later.
spoke
But
too soon.
so every movie starts with a script. I mean, that is the story. That is the
Mm,
crux of the entire script itself. I didn't actually have room on the graphic to write out all the screenwriters for all these scripts. So I'm just
mm,
gonna talk about the script itself,
sure.
and just announce it by movie or show. But it's okay. We know who wrote them. But the nominees for best script slash screenplay, whatever you want to say. Best script are Ant-Man, Avengers Infinity War, Black Panther, Guardians of the Galaxy, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and Loki. So, I threw a TV show on there because I was like, I just
Yeah.
love the writing of Loki so much. I love the TVA, the concept behind it.
Mm,
But because it's a little incomplete, I don't know if I'm like championing that as much. But I'd also included Black
sure.
Panther because I just love the rich culture in Black Panther. I love the use of just the different conversations, the little subtle humor, but also when to keep it serious. And then that last line that Killmonger says before he dies. I mean, I'm just like that. That alone gets the nomination for me.
Yeah,
And then
yeah, that's a
both
good
Guardians. I
moment.
knew you were gonna have Guardians 1, and I like Guardians 2 a little bit more. It makes me laugh more, so I put it there because James Gunn just masterfully wrote the comedy in that.
Yeah.
And I just prefer the comedy in number 2, but I almost toyed around with number 1 as well. So Kels, give
Mhm.
me your rundown on your picks and what you're thinking.
So I picked Ant-Man. Honestly, what came to mind to me with like best script, I don't know why, was just like the sequence when his friend, oh, what's his friend's
Luis.
name? Luis,
Hmm.
yes, Michael Pena, when he's talking, and he's, talking through he's taking them through the whole story, and then they have the different shots of like the different people like they dubbed
Right.
over his voice and everything. Like that whole sequences, and I don't know, I just really like the way Ant-Man's written. Like the character
Yeah.
itself is written. Like I think with the same thing with Guardians, like there's this great balance between like comedy and drama in that script as well. And I just wanted to, give it almost like an
Hmm.
honorable mention just because I feel
Yeah.
like we overlook as a fandom, we overlook Ant-Man a little
I
bit.
think so too.
And I really I will get
Hmm.
there when we get there,
I was gonna
but
say that's another instance why, like, again, pick Guardians 2. I just like Ant
yeah.
Man and the Wasp a little bit better than Ant Man.
Yeah,
So like
sure.
that's only why I would have put Ant Man and the Wasp. But I agree the comedy is very good and the writing for that character specifically in Paul Rudd is spot on. And tell me about Infinity War. Why did you choose Infinity War?
I think I just had to like chalk it up to there's so much happening in Infinity War that you have to like keep track of. And I just think that movie's just like so like brilliantly paced and like you're able to like keep in touch with everyone's individual storyline. I mean, they're literally on different planets. They're in different
Right.
parts of the galaxy battling it out and doing all these things. And it's really like now that I'm realizing just in this moment why I picked it. I'm like, it's really kind of genius how they did
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
it's the movie that to this day still just tears me up. Like I'm holding my breath to this day watching that
So
movie
are
because
you are
I'm just like
you are you campaigning for Infinity War then is your choice, or are you gonna lean back to your
I
Guardians or your
think I'm
Ant Man?
gonna campaign for Infinity War.
Okay.
I
Yeah, I
really
mean,
am.
I also love the way Thanos is written in it too, like, just the way he speaks and, like, kind of his not Shakespearean-ness, but, like, that kind of grander, like,
Yeah. No, for
"Oh, the
sure.
power in my hand," like, all this stuff, but it's not generic, it
Yeah.
actually has personality to it. I
Mhm.
just have to say, I think they're gonna get a little bit of hate. We didn't include Taika Waititi's script for Thor Ragnarok in here, but, we only had 3 nominees each.
I
Um
nominated Thor Ragnarok for so much though.
Right, right.
So I
I'm just
wanted to
saying.
give like I wanted to spread the wealth a
Mhm.
little bit.
I'm just saying I was surprised you didn't nominate it because I mean, me and you both know my feelings on Thor Ragnarok. It's not my favorite. I
Yeah,
think it's
I
it's one of the
know.
few that I don't get all the love for, but it's I'm surprised it wasn't nominated for script. I got a campaign for my Guardians. Either one I'm fine with, but I don't know. I love Guardians too, but I guess Guardians 1 also has that emotional story with Peter and his mom. Um but let me know if try to I mean, you make a good point with Infinity War. They just had so much to juggle and they juggled it so
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Um
'Cause, like, I'm thinking back to, like, even when I, like, watch it with the commentary and they're like, "Yeah, we have 7 of these." They have, like, cute, like, script writer words for them. I think they call them like not mulligans, MacGyvers. They're like, we have like 7 or 6 MacGyvers, which are the 6 Infinity Stones that they have to showcase in different ways. You know, once you use one, you can't use it the same way later. They had to like juggle that whole, you know, rigmarole of it. What is that saying? The rigmarole. The rigmarole of the Infinity Stones. You never heard that word?
The Rickroll?
No, not Rickroll. Rigmarole. It's like
I don't. Kelsey, you've sold me.
Oh, have I? As I stumble over all my sentences, that sold you?
No,
okay.
You make a good point. There's just so many different aspects you have to cover. You know, you're not following one individual story. I mean, that's kind of what I love about Guardians is there's like 5 different characters, but they are all on the same path. This one has those 5 characters plus 30 other characters, and you know, each one gets a good send-off.
And like you said about Thanos, none of the characters like feel generic. Like none of their personalities get lost, and all of them, literally every single character gets like a moment in that movie, and it doesn't feel like
even,
you know, they say something in the commentary where it's like every line that they wrote, it couldn't feel like anyone else except that character should be saying that line.
Right.
You know, it's
even
very
Wong,
purposeful.
Even Wong is in like 10 seconds of the movie, but even he has that like Hoka Boka peanut butter fudge is good. Like I love that. Yeah. So Kelsey, why don't you go ahead and announce our winner?
All right, and the Stanley for best script goes to Avengers: Infinity War.
Yeah, and I put my favorite line of dialogue there for the picture, the I am Steve Rogers.
I am Steve Rogers.
Which we didn't even mention. Okay.
Too good.
So now we're going to get into like the technical awards. So these are all like the artistic awards. So let's talk about the craft. So we're going to start with cinematography, which, you know, for those listening out there that don't know what that is, that's the camera work. That's also the lighting and how everything is composed to make up the picture, the visual, what we're seeing, not visual effects, but just the actual framing and the use of light and shadow. So the nominees for best cinematography are Black Panther, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Wanda Vision. So, Kelsey, give me your thoughts on this category.
That's really good. I think you picked. Did you do Captain America: The Winter Soldier and Wanda Vision?
No, I did.
Did
Guardians.
I do Cap?
You did Cap. So here's the thing. You did Black Panther, Cap, and Doctor Strange. I did WandaVision, Guardians, and Doctor Strange. So we both agreed on Doctor Strange because we could both agree that the way the camera moves in that movie is just so cool. I mean, a lot of it, I think, going back in my notes and like watching some scenes, I think a lot of it is due to the visual effects more than the camera work, but the camera work still captures it very well.
Yeah, for sure.
So tell me about Black Panther and Captain America: Winter Soldier, because that Winter Soldier shot I used is beautiful. The one of them running.
That is a beautiful shot. And you need good cinematography in that movie because of all the intense action sequences. You know, like one of your big critiques for Black Widow is that, you know, the action sequences really got lost because of the poor cinematography. So obviously, like, we didn't, you know, that's our favorite movie when it comes to action sequences. So they didn't, you know, they had to been captivating us with the cinematography in that movie.
Because it's not a big special effects movie either, so you can just focus in on the characters and like really just use the camera to tell the visual effects. Which is cool.
They do a lot of handhelds in Captain America and the Winter Soldier, which just makes it feel more personal. It feels like you're really there, you know, in the struggle of it all. So I like that one a lot now that I'm talking about it. But I also like WandaVision. You threw WandaVision in there, and I'm like, because that one's good too.
You have all the different styles of TV shows, so you have to have different kind of cameras for all. And they filmed it on a soundstage, so you have the challenges of having to film it on like a flat surface rather than having a 3-dimensional thing. And I think that's really impressive. I mean, those first few episodes with the black and white. And again, like I talked about with lighting, making sure things are lit properly, like vision, which we'll get to when we get to makeup and hairstyling though. But like they had to use blue makeup because the light was reflecting off of him weird. Like I love those little subtle choices they made in WandaVision. And then even those scenes of her childhood too. Like those scenes are very well done. The framing of when you see Pietro at the door and like the back shot of him and you're not sure, and then you see his face and it's not the real one. Like that's like a cool reveal. So like I love the WandaVision cinematography a lot. even though it's a show. And then Guardians, I love Guardians as well. I think there's a lot of cool, beautiful colors in there. I love that shot that I chose for the thumbnail, just with the lights and Groot and all that stuff. It's a beautiful movie, but I'm gonna campaign for WandaVision because I really think the cinematography.
I'm gonna agree with you. I think the cinematography is such a vital part of the storytelling for WandaVision. Because when they're doing the sitcom-y, more of the sitcom-y, 50s and 60s looked styled episodes, it's the zooming in on Mr. and Mrs. Hart that cues us in that like, oh, something weird is happening here. It's that kind of moments that really added to the tension of that show. So I think we should give it to WandaVision, Dale. I think that's a great pick.
Cool. And the winner for best cinematography is WandaVision. So now we're moving on to the visual effects. So this is kind of what I talked about a little with Doctor Strange, the use of the actual CGI or practical effects if we're talking WandaVision, which, spoiler, is not a nominee, but let's get into it.
I was like, see, I didn't even think of the TV shows. I only thought of the movies.
The nominations for best visual effects are Ant-Man, Avengers Infinity War, Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man Far From Home. And I have to say, the only one we had in common was Doctor Strange, but when you said Far From Home and I remembered that sequence where he's just in that weird, the picture I just showed with all the different Spider-Man, I was like, wow, yeah, that visual effect, those visual effects are amazing. But
pretty
yeah,
cool.
I also chose Infinity War and Captain Marvel for very specific purposes. Infinity War because of Thanos himself. The design on him is so convincing, like you don't think he's fake, which is important. And then Captain Marvel for Nick Fury, de-aging him, making him look young was just so impressive to me.
And Coulson,
making and Coulson and making the cat kind of turn into the monster. It all looks seamless to me. So I like those specifically, but I really, really love the Doctor Strange visual effects. They're just awesome. All the cities bending into one another, the way Dormammu looks, the way he breathes.
Yeah.
The cape itself. I mean, that's really cool. But tell me about Ant-Man and Spider-Man.
Well, once again, I just feel like Ant-Man, we forget about him. And, it's like whenever he grows or shrinks or does anything, nothing really gets lost. You don't really get taken out of it. I feel like they really do a good job, especially in the last fight sequence with incorporating the Thomas the Tank Engine exploding and getting huge, the ants getting huge, like them getting really small and running through the rugs. That's like a really seamless fight scene, and that the fact that they're going to ant size to human size, it's like it doesn't take you out of it. You're not like, oh well, this isn't real, like that, because the effects are so good, it draws you in more, and you don't bat an eye watching that fight sequence. But yeah, Doctor Strange, I just feel like it was just so innovated and something so different for its time in the MCU with all the magic and, the fact that they fight using these like magical shields that they form with their hands and the golden, the intricate designs of it all. I just feel like it was just so almost refreshing to watch as a fan in 2016. So
yeah. I mean, it's the only one we had in common. So I do think we both are fans of Doctor Strange. I think that is, if any award that movie's going to win, I think it's for visual effects. But if you want to sell me on Spider-Man or Ant-Man, go ahead. But I think
it's got to go to Doctor Strange, right?
Yep, I think so too. So the winner for best visual effects goes to Doctor Strange. Congratulations. So now let's pivot to what we were talking about earlier, sound. And this is use of sound effects, the way the sound effects work in tandem with one another. The nominees for best sound are Ant-Man and the Wasp, Avengers Infinity War, Captain America Civil War, Captain America the First Avenger, and the OG Iron Man. So, Kels, I believe you picked Ant-Man and the Wasp, Infinity War, and First Avenger. We both actually picked Infinity War. And then I also picked Civil War and Iron Man. So tell me about your picks.
Well, listen, Dill, I just told you at the beginning of all this that I didn't really understand what sound meant. I think I was still thinking like score or soundtrack when I went into this category.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't really have much to add to this conversation, but if you want to take me through yours, I'd love to know where you're coming
Well,
from.
I'll take you through both of ours because I think you do have good picks. I mean, Ant-Man and the
Okay.
Wasp, because of all the shrinking, like there's a lot of cool sounds like in the quantum
Yes,
realm,
and the
the knife
quantum
and
realm when, sorry, I know I
no,
said I
go
wasn't
ahead.
gonna
No,
talk,
I'm
but
I'm helping you. Yeah.
now that you're reminding me, yes, I did have a little bit of a thought process picking these movies. When they're in the quantum realm and when, Michael Douglas is in there, when Hank Pym is in there, and it just gets so quiet because it's, like, in the middle of, like, a huge action sequence, and then he's just in there, and it's just like, and it's not
Yeah.
exactly quietness, like, there's still things, like, happening in the background. It's just
It's
yeah,
like a
that's why I
deafening
had
of
to,
sound. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and then you picked First Avenger, which I also liked. I forgot about it, but it's all the war sequences. You have a lot of gunshots. You have a lot of war.
Mhm.
The shield itself has a sound effect every time. I
Mhm.
mean, it's an iconic sound at this point of when he hits the shield or whatever, that vibranium sound. So I
Yeah.
get that. And then we also picked Infinity War, both of us. And I think the reason I picked that is because you have so many things going on. Like you said, you have so many different sound effects. You have the sound of the axe plunging into Thanos' chest, and
Mhm.
you hear like the crunch.
Yeah.
You have the sound of Groot's arm getting chopped off for the axe. You have sounds of just a bunch of different things fighting. I mean, it's the biggest scaled movie before Endgame, but even more so because we're going to so many different planets that the sound is integral. And then I picked Civil War kind of for the same reason. It's all these characters and they all kind of have their own unique sounds and stuff. Like you get
Yeah.
the War Machine sounds, but also you get the spider webs for the first time. You also get the scene where Iron Man is fighting Bucky and Cap, and you get just the clanging of the armor and the shield and the
Mhm.
fire. And I just love the use of sound in there. And then Iron Man, the OG, because it's all about the metal. It's all about the sound of the metal and the hitting of the armor and the titanium and the vibranium and all that stuff. So I don't think it's vibranium yet, but just the iconic sounds of Iron Man, just like the
No,
like
yeah.
all that is
Yeah,
is in the
totally.
OG, and Jarvis's voice is kind of mended into that sound as well because he's like
Yeah.
he's got that voice in his suit as well. Um,
Mhm.
so I think Iron Man just it's the first use of like all this kind of cool technology sound, but I don't know. I like your first Avenger pick a lot too. So and him and the Wasp too. I don't know. What are you
I
thinking?
have to say, after you took us through them, I think my favorites at the end are gonna be Captain America: Civil War and Iron Man.
Okay.
Just because
Um,
yeah, I
yeah.
agree with everything that you said.
Yeah, I think because this is I don't know. I'm thinking like the first ever or like the first time we're seeing like Spider-Man and Black Panther in the mix because they have
Yeah.
interesting sound effects. And then
Yeah.
that whole Bucky fight is good too. But I just something about Iron Man is just like the sounds. Like there's even at the end of Endgame, after there's no post credits, but you hear the clanging of the
The
armor,
cling,
and it
cling,
ends up
cling.
carrying
Yeah.
over to Falcon the Winter Soldier too, with John Walker building a shield. And I think all that stems from the Iron Man.
Yeah.
And I think I'll be honest, I think that's the only place we nominated Iron Man. So I feel like almost we might want to throw it a bone and give it
Yeah.
the award. I don't know
I
about
think we
you.
do. I think we
All
should.
right. So the award for best sound, the Stanley Award goes to Iron Man. I mean, it's in the title. It's iron. It's sound. Um,
Yeah.
so next we
Yeah.
transition to costumes, and this was a lot of fun because we kind of picked a lot of like the same ideas of like similar costumes, just in different movies.
Okay.
I'll get there in a sec.
All right.
But it's a fun category, and again, we have 5 nominees, so only one of them we agreed on. The nominees for best costume design are Black Panther,
Mm.
Captain America: The First Avenger, Loki, Thor, and
Mm.
Thor Ragnarok. So we got 3 Thor stories in there. So 3 different Lokis to choose from. I think we just like the actual aesthetic of the Loki with the horns and the cape and all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I nominated Thor for the Shakespeareanness of it, like those
Mhm.
regal costumes. Like I love the costumes in Thor. Loki, same thing. All the different Lokis. Boastful Loki, his cool armor, and then classic Loki costume with like the President Loki costume, and then the TVA costumes themselves.
Yeah. Yep,
But
yep,
my
yep.
my biggest pick was the one that we both picked together, which was Black Panther, because I mean that those costumes are just so beautiful and capture the
Yeah.
culture of Wakanda so well. I mean, just each tribe has their own different look. The Dora
Mhm.
Milaje look great. Killmonger, I mean that's more of a makeup thing, which we'll get to, but like his
Oh, his all
costume,
his scars you're talking about?
yeah, that's more
Yeah.
makeup. But anyway, like
Yeah.
his outfit too is nice, and Baku's big, gorilla kind of
Yeah.
skin or whatever. Yeah, it's amazing. But take me through your nominees: First Avenger and Ragnarok.
So Ragnarok, I mean, my favorite moments are definitely on Sakaar. I think that's just like
Mhm.
the most colorful, like I mean, it's more makeup, but just like the detailing and like the face paint that Jeff Goldblum has. I mean, it feels otherworldly and it should. Like it doesn't feel like similar to like Asgard or any other planet
Mhm.
that we've been. It really does feel like it's own thing. And it's, great that they paid attention to that detail to make it so different and lively and things like that. Um Captain America: The First Avenger, I love a period piece. I
Yeah,
love the fashions of the 50s and
that's true.
60s. I loved how it takes us back to that time, totally embraces it. And, you're not too in it that you get like too caught up in like, oh, the 50s and 60s were like a terrible time for anyone who didn't just look like Steve Rogers. But you're in it enough that you believe, it's essential that you keep in mind that this character is from the past for like the rest of his
Mhm.
story.
Yeah, and it's just
Um,
aside from, like, Captain Marvel and, like, scenes from Endgame, we really don't get a lot of the past in the
mhm.
MCU, and I think that's cool that we get a period piece where we can just dive into all that. So
Yeah, and I have to say, like, I think my favorite costumes are the Howling Commandos, his squad
mhm,
of just like misfits that he puts together because they all have like such a different look and
right,
together like they're dynamic, like they're all different sizes, one's big, one's like really tall, and there's like a real little one. I
right.
just think that they're just such a great like fun group to
Mhm.
look at and pay attention to on screen.
Yeah, and then Black Panther, the one we picked together. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll say again, my favorite moment is when, they're doing the first fight where Winston Duke's character
M'Baku? Yeah,
challenges T'Challa to, being king. That's just like a great moment because you just look out to all these different tribes and all these different people in sporting such different and unique looks. It's great. I don't know. I think it's
yeah,
Black Panther,
I think so
but
too. I mean, I
I
there's
think it's
something it's just beautiful. The costumes are
yeah,
just
it
beautiful. I mean,
is. It
I
really is.
I love Loki was my second pick, and then I had to, like, kind of think a lot for a third. Like, it's between Loki and Black Panther for me. Ragnarok's a good pick. I didn't even think of it because of all those amazing costumes. Um, eh, yeah, I'm leaning Black Panther.
Yeah,
All right,
I think
Kelsey,
I'm good with that.
go ahead and announce it.
And the Stan Lee Award for Best Costume Design goes to Black Panther.
Kelsey,
Congratulations.
you're nailing it today.
That
Good
was
job.
my announcer voice. That's
I
like
was gonna
what
say
I
that's
would
pretty good.
do. Thank
So
you.
now, the last of the technical awards, we're still here, goes to the hair and makeup, because you know very well makeup. I don't, but I know
I
really great
try.
makeup when I see it. I don't like look at the subtleties, but all these have really good makeup,
Yeah.
and some really nice hairstyling. So the nominees for best hair and makeup design are Black Panther, Captain America: The First Avenger, Guardians of the Galaxy,
Mm.
Thor Ragnarok, and WandaVision. So Kelsey, again, the one we had in common was Black Panther. So first, talk
Of
to me
course
about
it
Black
was.
Panther, and then you could talk about. I think you put up First Avenger and Ragnarok.
Well, Black Panther, pretty much everything I said about the costumes. Everything's just so unique. I mean, what you were saying before about Killmonger's scars, like all that
Hmm
jazz happening. I
the
also did
lip, that guy,
the
the big
oh
red lip.
yeah, the
Yeah,
little like thing that marks if you're a Wakandan on the
yeah. No,
inside.
no. I'm talking this, like the lip.
Oh no, yeah, that was very interesting. He's rocking it though, that guy.
Yeah, he is.
Um uh who did I have also? Thor
First
Ragnarok.
Avenger and Ragnarok. Yeah,
Oh, and First Avenger, yeah.
I mean that Red Skull makeup's great.
I just feel like hair, makeup, and costumes just go like hand in hand. Like you really can't have one without the other, which is
Yeah,
why
you picked the same three.
my
Yeah,
nominees were like pretty much the same
they
because
were. Yeah.
like one completes the other.
Hmm
You can have a really great costume, but like if your hair and makeup are, out of style or don't match, the whole look is kind of ruined. So
True.
but once again, WandaVision. I feel like I slept on WandaVision a little bit
Because
when
you
I was
also got a lot
giving
of
out these
period you got a
nominees.
lot of period piece, like, looks too, because you
Yep,
have her in the
yep,
50s
yep.
and the 60s.
And
Also Blue Vision.
Blue Vision. Blue Vision, yeah. Can never forget Blue Vision. And can I
Um,
just say, Elizabeth Olsen, she looks great in like a 50s getup. Like
oh, yeah.
she pulled off every single decade. I one can only dream to look good in every single decade. The 80s, the 50s, the 70s. She did it all so well. It's like,
you also got the makeup and hair for Evan Peters too, because he has a cool hairstyle going on too.
Yep.
Yeah, I also picked Guardians because I love the makeup for Nebula and Drax specifically. I mean, that Nebula makeup is so good. It looks like actual machinery, but it's makeup. And Drax himself with all the little scars and stuff on him. That's really cool. Zoe Saldana, Gamora, she's green. Like a lot of cool things. I think that kind of goes in line with Ragnarok a little bit. Like these really eccentric kind of makeup and hair designs and stuff like that. Where are you leaning with this? Because I think it could go to any of these 5, really.
Honestly, like the more I think about it, the more I want to give it to Wanda Vision.
Yeah. I mean,
just because they really did do all the decades so well, you know?
All right, let's do it. The winner for best hair and makeup is Wanda Vision. Blue Vision, you are getting that award. I will send it to your house.
He deserves it.
So now we transition into some of like the fun superlatives. These are ones you will never see in any other award show, but we figured we'd include it. And we're gonna get the bad eggs out of the way first. We're gonna talk about the worst MCU film.
Okay.
Kelsey had 2, I had 2, and we both had one that we shared in common. Here we go. The nominees for the worst MCU film are Avengers: Age of Ultron, The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, and Thor: The Dark World. I'm not a huge fan of any of those movies except for I kind of like the first Thor, only because it's the first time we see like Loki and Thor like as brothers, like this relationship that ends up carrying us through to what we are currently seeing or just saw on television now with Loki. It set up that relationship well. Avengers: Age of Ultron is an interesting pick too because I think it's messy, but like I still like a lot of aspects of it. I love the introduction of Wanda and Quicksilver. Claw, but also like I agree, there's some, it's not the best, and it's the most unlikable. I think we'll get Tony Stark as well. I picked Thor: The Dark World just because it's the most non-memorable to me. Like I don't really remember it well. Iron Man 2 also, I just don't like the movie. I don't think the villains are as fun. I mean, you love Whiplash, but I do not the character Whiplash, not the film. Ivan Vanko, Vanko. And then we both picked Incredible Hulk, I think, because it's just kind of the one that I feel like most people, if they skip one, it's that, just because of the recasting and because until Shang-Chi trailer came out, none of the other characters really mattered much in the MCU either. So, what are your thoughts? I just ran down all of them. But
I mean, it's interesting that you say that Thor: The Dark World is the least memorable for you, when for me, that's the first Thor movie. I don't really like... I don't know, like maybe because it's such an origin story and it's like so typical and follows like such a basic format that I kind of just like, once you understand, like, and I feel like they hadn't really figured out Thor's character himself in the earlier films. Like he doesn't really become like his own kind of, person really until like Thor Ragnarok is when he becomes like really, really interesting because, he gets funny, that's what it is that we realize that Chris Hemsworth is really good at delivering, one-liners, and they wrote a script for that, where the first one, I think Thor: The Dark World gets a lot of hate. And, like, I can understand why, but, like, I really don't hate it as much as other people do. Because I think I really like that movie because I like the arc Loki has in that movie. I think that, movie is essential to what happens in Loki.
True.
Really. Even though, like, it hadn't happened.
Again, it's a Thor movie, not a Loki movie.
I get it.
But how about this? You like Thor: The Dark World more than me. I like Thor more than you. Want to just cancel those out and talk about the other 3?
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
So now talk to me about Age of Ultron, Iron Man 2, Hulk.
I mean, Age of Ultron, it's just sad because it's the lamest time we see Natasha. She gets like the least amount of screen time. She gets like she gets captured by Ultron. A lot of people blame this on Joss Whedon. I did find out recently that she was pregnant during the duration of making that movie. So maybe it has a little to do with that as well. I just think that, and being that, or during that time, she still was like the only girl in the group and really like the one woman leading Marvel, it was just lame to see her character kind of be treated that way. But it does have its fun moments. Like, I love the party scene when they're able to just like be people for a night and, relax. I love the introduction of Pietro and Wanda. I
like Ultron himself too.
I like Ultron himself. James Spader, I'm pretty sure I nominated for villain performance, and I'm so sorry, spoiler. And he's like not even in it. Like, it's just his voice, and it's that impactful that, you remember it.
So I think you're talking yourself out of Age of Ultron as the worst. Like, it's maybe bottom 3 for you, but I don't think it's the worst.
I don't think it's the worst, because the Incredible Hulk is right there.
I was gonna say I'm trying to avoid it, but like, it's inevitable. I think it's an Incredible Hulk is our pick here, just because it's the only one that the two of us agreed on was in our bottom 3. You know what I mean? Like, I like Age of Ultron and Thor a lot. You like Dark World and Iron Man 2 enough. Like, I think the Incredible Hulk might not even be my least favorite in the whole MCU, but I think it's a very commonly, low tier MCU film for almost everybody,
Yeah, for sure. It's just, that's the movie that I like paid like the littlest attention to, because it just was not holding my attention. And maybe I went into it with that mindset because everyone told me about how bad it was and how, like, useless of a film it is, and how if you're going to watch them, Incredible Hulk, you can totally skip. Like, that's all I heard before going into like the MCU. So I guess with that in mind, I wasn't really trying that hard to be invested in the Incredible Hulk, but it really
also, he's my favorite. And like, I think that says a lot, that even though he's my favorite, like, I think the movie doesn't really do him that much of a service. Like, the actual CGI of the Hulk himself doesn't look good. It looks messy. Like, Abomination looks like an abomination.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Dill. They do a good job later on with Mark Ruffalo's Hulk of kind of incorporating Mark Ruffalo's facial features into, when he is the Hulk. You can believe that they're the same person, where you had Edward Norton turn into literally just like a Hulk that was like straight out of like a comic book. Like, nothing about Edward Norton was incorporated in that like CGI design, like, at all.
And I feel like Edward Norton played it a little snarkier, Bruce Banner, and I think we already have Tony, and we're already gonna get Stephen Strange, that you can't have 3. And I think that's just gonna be that was going to be tough if he had stayed with it. But again, I love how they got Mark Ruffalo. We'll talk about that later. But I think we're in agreement that the worst MCU film, the Stanley Award, goes to The Incredible Hulk. So that was our only negative award. We're not going to award like the worst actor and actress, because I don't
even think they're like, I couldn't even pick one, even if you wanted me to. I feel like everyone's pretty solid in the MCU.
Maybe Malekith. Yeah.
All right. Well, the actor had nothing to do with what?
Maybe Sonny Birch.
Yeah, but even so, like, I feel like we can't blame the actor for the character of Sonny Birch being like a lame character,
Let's move on now to another fun one that I thought would be fun, just because this is a Marvel podcast, not an MCU podcast. We did want to make these awards MCU centric, but we figured, let's give an award to the non-Marvel films, because we do non-MCU Marvel films, because we have talked about them on here, and we're going to continue to talk about them. So the best non-MCU Marvel film, the nominees are Deadpool, Logan, Spider-Man 2002, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and X-Men Days of Future Past. I know what you're going to say, Kels. You forgot Spider-Verse.
Yep. I forgot Spider-Verse. I don't know why. Go ahead.
I nominated at first, because I just love the 2 Sam Raimi films. I nominated Logan, and then Spider-Man, and Spider-Man 2. And then I said, wait a sec.
Yeah.
Into the Spider-Verse is not on here. And I was like, I got to put it on there. So I took Spider-Man 2 off, only because I don't love MJ and Peter's relationship as much as I do the first one. The first one is just my nostalgic favorite. I know it's not going to win, because I know you're not a big Tobey fan, but also because I do agree the other movies are probably better. But I love Spider-Man, the first one, a lot. But I needed to put Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse on there because I love it so much.
For some reason, when I read this category, the only movies I could think of were 2 Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. And I was like, what other Marvel movies that aren't in the MCU are there? So I literally Googled, and I was like, oh my God, all the X-Men movies we just watched. And then it hit me and I was like, duh. And I was like, okay, well, Logan, Deadpool, obviously. And then I was like, okay, well, like who else should I throw in there? And then I just landed on another X-Men. And I totally forgot about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
But I mean, you did pick 3 really good X-Men films though. Like granted, I picked Logan as well. Like Logan's great.
I mean, Logan will always be, what it is.
Yeah.
So for me, this fight comes down to Logan and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That's
agree.
where I'm kind of at.
I think, my personal favorite, of course, nostalgia is Spider-Man, but I'm not gonna even bother trying to convince you that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man's the best movie of the bunch. We'll get into another podcast, but I'm gonna lean just because it is just the most unique, different thing in a superhero movie. I'm gonna lean Logan.
Oh my god! I thought you were totally about to say Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Well, no,
in that moment.
Yeah, it's just tough because that's animated, and like I don't want to take that away from it, but also like it's animated, so you have a lot more liberty to do whatever with. Whereas Logan, it was like I've never seen a superhero western like that style,
for sure,
that dark, that gritty. But I guess the same argument could be made for Into the Spider-Verse. I've never seen anything like that either.
As soon as you said unique, I was like, yeah, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse does have some unique animation. That's literally where my mind went.
But that's not where my mind is now too. I don't know.
Should we flip a coin?
Well, I'm not gonna like not pick Spider-Verse if that's where you're leaning. Like I like Spider-Verse, and I know you like Logan.
I'm torn too.
We're both really torn. So how about this? Heads is Logan, tails is Spider-Verse. But
am I gonna be sad if someone loses? Let's find out.
Let's see. And Siri, flip a coin.
Wait, which one is which?
I forgot which one.
Which one was heads? Which one was tails?
You call it.
Heads is Logan, tails is Spider-Man.
Siri, flip a coin. It's tails, so it went to Spider-Verse.
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yep.
I'm good with that.
All right,
I'm good with that. Yeah.
Kelsey. Announce it.
The best non-MCU Marvel film, the Stan Lee, goes to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
It's a good pick. I mean, it's also such a unique pick. You're right. It is the most unique. I don't know why I said Logan was.
Logan's unique in its own ways.
But
it's that was like darker unique.
That was an easier battle than I thought it'd be. So I'm glad. I knew you forgot it. I knew you didn't just like not include it as your 3.
Disappointed in myself, but it won, so I'm happy now.
Honorable mentions, the Blade movies, the Fantastic Fours if you like them. Big Hero 6 is great. So those are some honorable mentions. Now let's get to the class couple, the best MCU couple, and we're not talking the performances. We're talking the characters. Like, just our favorite. Who do we ship the most? And we did go by movie, but we can kind of span more broad. And the nominees are Gamora and Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, MJ and Peter from Spider-Man Far From Home, Peggy and Steve from Captain America The First Avenger, Pepper and Tony from Iron Man 2, and Vision and Wanda from Avengers Infinity War. Kelsey, I gotta say, I was surprised you didn't rep your homeboy Tom Holland, and I'm surprised you didn't rep WandaVision. Let me know.
I picked Wanda, didn't I?
You picked Gamora. You picked Gamora and Star-Lord, Pepper and Tony, and Peggy and Steve, which are 3 great picks.
Oh, that's them from Infinity War is a really good pick. Their relationship is at an all-time high.
You did maybe pick one of them as an actor in Infinity War, but not as a couple.
I feel like I've definitely told you in the past how annoyed I am with how they wrote MJ and Peter in his movies. True. So I'm absolutely not nominating them at all.
Okay. See, I love their relationship. I think it's so cute and awkward and dorky. I just love it. Because Zendaya is like this like very like pretty, like she's doesn't usually play the dork nerd type. But in Spider-Man Far From Home, she's like totally geeking out over him, and he's geeking out over her. I just love it. That was honestly not my favorite of the 3, but that was definitely one of my favorites. Like it was between that and WandaVision as my favorite couple. But we also both nominated Peggy and Steve, so that's a great moment. But then when I look back, I was like, is it because is it that last moment where he's like, I gotta take a rain check? Does that kind of override? Because the rest of the film, they're not really like couple. They like each other, but it's not like a real solidified couple like Pepper and Tony or like Gamora and Star-Lord or even like Wanda and Vision are. But their relationship kind of has the most impact on the entire MCU. But In terms of the actual couple in the movie itself, I'm leaning Wanda and Vision, but I want to know what your thoughts, especially with the two
Yeah.
you picked that I didn't.
WandaVision. Wanda and Vision are a good pick, especially from if you're looking at just their moments in Infinity War. The reason why Peter and Gamora, obviously, because Guardians is my favorite film, but also I just love that they do such a great way of like helping each other with something. Like Peter
Mm-hmm.
Quill like really softens Gamora while Gamora like is able to, toughen Peter Quill up a bit and like
And
kind
you
of
picked
like be
volume
his
2, right?
his
Yeah.
no, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes, because in the second one is when they really like talk about like he's like, so when are we going to do something about this unspoken thing between us? And then by the end of the movie, she's like, it's an unspoken thing. Like I love that moment a lot because it's like, it's an unspoken thing. You don't talk about it. Pepper and Tony, I wanted to give a shout out in Iron Man 2 just because I feel like there's so much like back and forth between them in that movie. There's a great, I don't know, I don't think it made the movie. I think it's either a blooper or a deleted scene, but there's a moment where Tony is like asking for or like an aspirin or something, and Pepper's like, "I only have Motrin," and like RDJ just screams at Gwyneth Paltrow, "I'm not on my cycle, Pepper. You're gonna give Motrin to a grown man? Like, I need something stronger." And it's just like they're just like always at each other's kind of like necks in that movie in like such a loving way, obviously because all she wants is for Tony to just be safe and practical, and that's the movie where he's going off the rails. He's going completely rogue. He's, being Tony. Yeah, I think Peggy and Steve, I think the only reason why we love them so much is probably because of the last moment of Endgame. We end on their song with their moment finally getting their dance together. And I think that's the only reason why we root for them, because after the first Avenger, we don't get that much of Peggy and Steve because Peggy stayed in the 1940s and Cap did not.
But it says a lot that they're still on our 5 and they're the only one that we both chose despite not having the most screen time together. So I think that's powerful. I am going to dock MJ and Peter just because that first movie, they really don't have a lot. Even though we're judging just Far From Home, but I'm willing to concede that. I'm going to keep rooting for Vision and Wanda, though, just because they're the couple of the MCU. Like they're the only ones that actually got a show about them as a couple. But tell me, is there another way you're leaning?
So you're leaning towards WandaVision? I like Gamora and Peter though a lot.
That's fine. I'll flip a coin for that because I like them too.
Okay, let's flip a coin.
All
but
right.
First, I have to say, their relationship, Peter and MJ's relationship, is written so poorly. It's just so random. The only reason why they're together is because they're like the love interest in the
Oh, we lost Kelsey. Let me text her. This is she got so mad. She got so mad that she left the stream. There she is. Hello.
She didn't leave the stream. I don't know what happened. I
didn't touch a thing. I think your
Wi-Fi went out. But
are you good though? You're charged up.
No, yeah, like I'm plugged. Like I'm plugged in.
So heads or tails? Which one's Gamora and Star-Lord? Which one's WandaVision?
Fine. We don't have to go through the rest of my rant. It's
fine.
Heads can be Gamora and Quill, and then tails is WandaVision.
Siri, flip a coin. It's heads this time, which means Kelsey, you can announce it.
The Stanley Award for Best MCU Couple goes to Gamora and Star-Lord, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
That's right. Congratulations, y'all. I hope you find her, Star-Lord.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I hope we find her too.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're gonna get into the best comedic performance because after all, these are comedies. These are action movies second. These are comedies first. Most of them. Some of them aren't. But there are a lot of comedic performances, and this is where you might start to see some crossover into the other categories later. But this was who Kelsey and I decided as the best comedic performances, and the nominees are Dave Batista for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, David Harbour for Black Widow, Ben Kingsley for Iron Man 3, Michael Pena for Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Paul Rudd in Avengers Endgame. And while I have it up here, let me just reiterate who we all chose. We both picked Dave Batista. I picked David Harbour and Ben Kingsley, and you picked Michael Pena and Paul Rudd. Now, I may have picked Paul Rudd for another category later. You might have picked Ben Kingsley for another category later. So, and I may have picked David Harbour, or you may have picked David Harbour for another category later. But the ones we have here for best comedic performance, I think all 5 of these are hilarious. I mean, Ben Kingsley is just so funny. Just in that break where you see the real him, and it's just so hilarious. It's because of the subversion of expectations that I had to include him. But the 2 for me that I really love are David Harbour and Dave Batista. I mean, David Harbour, it's so recent, but he was the funniest part of that movie, and he made that movie, which I thought was going to be more like real dramatic, and it was dramatic, but he gave so much light to it. And Dave Batista, I mean, Drax, his humor in Guardians 2 is just amazing. It's incredible. So talk to me about Michael Pena and Paul Rudd and Dave Batista.
I do think that even though like that style of comedy is like not my favorite that Dave Batista does in the Guardians movies, I do commend him for being able to pull it off well. You know, he just does the right amount where he's not hamming it up too much. He's still, you know, being truthful and playing the character as real as you can play, you know, another life form from another planet. David Harbour's great. He's very funny in Black Widow. I think my favorite pick, honestly, is Paul Rudd from in Endgame, because I think he just delivers like such a great, like he is the comedic relief in that film, because it's just so dark and heavy, and they're dealing with something like so surreal and like literally their nightmare, you know, like their nightmare scenario, worst case scenario unfolds in that movie. And the fact that he's able to just be like this light of optimism, and just like my favorite moment throughout that entire movie is when they're talking about each of the Infinity Stones, where to get them and where they originated, from wherever. And Thor starts talking about the ether, the reality stone. And everyone is just absolutely done with the fact that he's constantly drunk or asleep, and that, you know, he's going through this depressive state. And he starts, you know, going on and on about the ether and everything. And we just cut to Paul Rudd's face. We cut to Ant-Man, and he is just eating it up. He's hanging on to every word that he's saying. He's like, oh yeah, like this is a great story. Like he's loving it. Right. And it makes me chuckle every single time I watch that performance. So I think that's my favorite comedic performance in the MCU.
See, it's hard because I'll spoil it now. I picked him for supporting actor in the same performance.
Oh, okay.
For just general supporting. So it's tough because like I love his performance in this, but again, he also has a lot of emotional moments. He has that moment where he sees that the whole world is changed, and he sees Cassie, his name, and then he sees that Cassie's grown up, and it's an emotional moment. Whereas Dave Batista, I feel like, is just like full on comedy the whole time.
Yeah.
And if we're talking just specifically performance, it might be Paul Rudd, but comedic performance, I'm leaning Dave Batista, only because it's strictly like it is a comedic performance. But
neither of us talked about Trevor Slattery though.
Yeah, I think we'll talk about him a little bit more later. I think the reason I didn't, because you didn't pick him for this category, I picked him for this category only because I love the change of like the super serious to the super funny. But I do think even his funny bits, as funny as they are, I think he's a great performance in a funny role, but he isn't as funny as my other picks. Dave Batista just has me on the floor laughing. So I don't know. I don't know if I'll back down from this one, but Kelsey, give me your thoughts. All right.
Well, I was just going to say, I'd also like to shout out Michael Pena just for, just real quick, just because I think that it's hard, because like I wanted to nominate all 3 of them. Like I feel like the 3 friends are so funny in Ant-Man and the Wasp, like with the truth serum, and, you know, that whole bit of him telling the story. And, you know, there's a great moment where in the beginning of the movie where he's like, Scott, like we have to do something because we work for the security company now. And he's like Louise, like I trust you, like you make the decisions, like it'll be great. And he's like, you're right, I'm the boss. Yeah, I'm the boss. And like it's just like little moments like that, like if you're memorable to me in like a comedic performance, like you did it, you've won. Yeah, so he's great. That's too tough.
I don't think he's the pick though. I just think his moments are good, but the other ones also I think David Harbour, Dave Batista, and Paul Rudd just get more time to just explore.
For
And they
sure.
have more layers. I think if we're talking the performance, I would go Paul Rudd, but if we're going comedic performance, I'm leaning more Dave Batista, but I don't know. Kelsey, you can break this tie if you want. I'll let you choose.
We can give it to Dave Batista, Dill.
Are you sure?
Yes.
All right, we will talk about Paul Rudd later, I promise.
Okay.
The winner for Best Comedic Performance, the Stanley Award, goes to... Wait, where is he? I can't see him. Is he invisible?
He's on the top left. I see him.
Oh, I don't. He must be invisible. Maybe he didn't show up. But it is Dave Batista in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Did you get the joke or no? That he's invisible, eating the chips?
Oh, now I
Kelsey.
get it. I'm sorry.
See,
I thought you were having like technical difficulties
no,
over there.
no.
I'm like, what else today? What else is gonna happen?
No. Dave Batista's the winner. Congratulations.
Yes, he
but
can
we can't
become
see him 'cause he's
invisible, undetectable to the naked eye.
Yeah, this is another fun category because we talked about our villains ranking, but it was more of the villains themselves rather than the performances strictly. We did incorporate that into it, but this is strictly the villain performances. And I have to ask about one snub, but I'll get there in a sec. The nominees for Best Villain Performance are Josh Brolin in Avengers Infinity War, Jake Gyllenhaal in Spider-Man Far From Home, Michael B. Jordan in Black Panther, Ben Kingsley in Iron Man 3, and James Spader in Avengers Age of Ultron. And the only question I have is, where is Tom Hiddleston, Kels?
Oh, I nominated him for supporting.
Oh, okay. I was going to say you could nominate him twice, but...
I know, but like I said, I wanted to spread the wealth.
Okay. That's fair. But Loki's not here, but also he's more of an anti-hero at this point. Same as Nebula and Winter Soldier. So, yeah, this is a really stat category, too. I picked the three on the top. I picked Josh Brolin, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Michael B. Jordan. You picked Ben Kingsley, James Spader, and Michael B. Jordan. So Michael B. Jordan's the commonality here, and I don't want to say just like, let's give it to him, even though that's where I'm leaning, but I'd like to hear what you have to say about Ben Kingsley and James Spader.
So Ben Kingsley, it's just such a delightful performance. Like
really
I
is.
just watched Iron Man 3 the other day just because like that movie's just so enjoyable to watch. Damn, I regret not nominating it for more things. It's just so enjoyable between RDJ's performance, the villain, like there's just so many layers in that movie. It's like he's one of the reasons, like, you know, that you go back to that movie because you just want to watch him he's just so chaotic and enjoyable when, you know, he's obviously, you know, being himself, Trevor Slattery and not the Mandarin. It's just so entertaining
but he's also menacing as the Mandarin in those little commercials. He really is.
That is true. Before you realize, you know the whole reveal, you really believe that this is like an evil person.
Yeah.
And then who else did
James
I pick?
Spader.
Oh, James Spader. Yeah, that's just like it's just so delightfully evil that you only aspire to just be like that, like quippy and just like humans, like I don't understand, like what do you make smaller people children, I forgot the word for it, like he just like has like this it's just like incredible that just his voice alone, he's able to give this like robot machine thing its own mannerisms, its own personality. Like I just love hearing it, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I also Michael B. Jordan, I will say.
I was gonna say we'll save him for later, but yeah, we can
I
talk
understand
about him now.
we picked him twice. And is it because of the performance he gives or just because Killmonger is a good villain?
No, I think his performance is amazing. I love it.
Okay.
I think it's just extra layered, especially with like him at the art exhibit and then him later when he's in Wakanda and just like the hello auntie type thing. Like I love his deliveries, but I agree. Like the villain itself is so strong.
Because like I'm kind of teetering back and forth. I'm looking back at it now and I'm like, I think Killmonger is just a very well written villain that I don't like. I'm not trying to discredit Michael B. Jordan in any way. Like I still think that he's, you know, he gives it.
He's in your top three. Yeah,
he's given it a 100% of that movie. But I think it's just because that villain is just so well written, where the other ones feel more. Or really like Trevor Slattery, Ben Kingsley
shines
specifically.
Because of the performance.
So I think I'm leaning towards Ben Kingsley, to be honest with you.
Interesting. So obviously I had to put Josh Brolin just because Thanos, they nailed it. Like he really nailed it. I know, what's wrong? Do you not like it?
I mean, it's just hard because like, and I know this is going to sound so dumb because I did nominate like a whole robot. Like I did nominate just like a voice performance basically. But, like, it's just hard because, like, most of what Thanos is CGI. So it's like you can't really, like, get all
But it's his
the
expression, though.
Yeah, that's
Because they
true.
put the mocap on his face,
And you know what? Maybe I just, like, I think Josh Brolin does do his job because I really just dislike Thanos just
Yeah.
so much
But even then, like,
that
he's the protagonist not the protagonist, but he's the main character of Infinity War, and I
Yeah.
think to have a villain that you can really just have that time with, like, it's really amazing, and then Jake Gyllenhaal, it's just another one of those, like, fake outs, like, you think he's good and then he's bad, and it's just he's such a good actor that he brings a lot to the
Yeah.
role.
Yeah.
He was definitely the third of my list. It was Michael B. Jordan, then Josh Brolin, then him. I love Michael B. Jordan's performance. I think it just has a real great energy and charisma. I think he does, as much as I love him, rest in peace, I think he outshines Chadwick Boseman in that movie. He just soaks up that movie for me. He just, like, eats it all up. There's one other performance that I might also like in that movie that I'll talk about later.
Okay.
But yeah, no, he just totally eats up all the scenery. He just and the fight scene especially too, just the way he commits to that too is just so intense
Yeah.
and just amazing. But again, like, I'm not opposed to talking about Trevor or even Josh Brolin, or I think we've narrowed it down to Ben Kingsley, Josh Brolin, and Michael B. Jordan, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because I thought Jake Gyllenhaal when I was, like, thinking about all my villains, just because he is a very strong actor, but I feel like there's something about that like, that character where
Mhm.
he almost takes it a little too far. Like I was saying
Okay.
with Drax, how he doesn't, like, ham it up really. I think Jake Gyllenhaal got a little too hammy,
Okay.
a little too
Yeah.
unbelievable at
Mhm.
some moments as Mysterio, or, like,
Right.
whatever his real name is, Quentin Beck.
Quentin Beck. Yeah.
Is that
Yeah. I
even
don't
his
know.
real name, though?
Who knows?
He lied about his entire
Right.
personality.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough because Josh Brolin just, like, has the whole, like, he has the most stuff to work with. But again, Ben Kingsley in just that small performance just really, really captures you. And then Michael B. Jordan, I'm gonna still stay in the Michael B. Jordan train only because it's my favorite villain, and I think he just brings a lot to it. He's my favorite part of that movie, which I already love so much. But I don't know.
You know what? I think you sold me on
Really?
Michael B. Jordan, yeah.
Yay! All right, so the but honorable like runner up Ben Kingsley for sure.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take that.
If you
I'll
haven't
take
watched the Great American Film Off World Leaders episode, we talk a lot about Ben Kingsley and Gandhi. We talk about an hour about Ben Kingsley, so go check it out, people. Anyway, the Stanley Award for Best Villain Performance goes to Michael B. Jordan, Black Panther.
Woohoo.
All right, so now these are some fun awards. We're going to go into the most anticipated because we have a lot to look forward to in the future. So it is time now to talk about the most anticipated MCU film. The nominees are Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Spider-Man: No Way Home, and Thor: Love and Thunder. So I nominated Thor, Kelsey nominated Black Panther, and then we both agreed on the other two. So tell me, Kelsey, first, let's go to the ones that we did not choose. I did not choose Black Panther. Tell me why you picked Black Panther too.
I just think that, people are really curious as to how we're going to honor Chadwick Boseman's legacy,
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's, like, the big factor that makes it the most anticipated because we wanna see, like, where the
True.
story how we can further this story because although we did lose T'Challa, like, it's still a whole country literally that has a
Mm-hmm.
story to tell and has a part to
True.
play in this MCU, and I'm excited to see, like, if they have anyone take up the mantle, not outside act, not like recasting the role, but just
Right.
like the actors we already
Shuri or
have, like
someone else.
Okoye, Okoye,
Okoye,
Okoye,
Shuri, yeah,
Okoye, Shuri,
Io.
like, all these people, like, if we're gonna have anyone take up the Black Panther mantle, who,
Mm-hmm.
like, like, where are these other, iconic characters gonna go without
Yeah.
him? And I want to, just make sure that it's all very well done and respected and
Yeah.
in that sense. So that's
That's a
why I
good
picked
point.
Black Panther.
Yeah, it was definitely like my number 4 or 5. That and Eternals were like right on the list, but I didn't put them on. I put Thor: Love and Thunder only because I'm so excited to see what Natalie Portman does. I'm so excited to see the
Yeah.
Guardians and Thor.
Yep. The
It's basically like
Asgardians.
Guardians 3 and Thor 4 and Natalie Portman's Thor movie. Like it's a bunch of different movies, and we get Christian Bale as a villain. So like it has all the recipes for me to enjoy it. But I think the two we have to talk about are the ones we both agreed in. The two multiverse movies, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and then supposedly the multiverse in Spider-Man: No Way Home. Yeah, like What?
Nothing. It's just
Nothing.
like people keep talking about this alleged multiverse that's going to happen in Spider-Man No Way Home, and
because
I feel like
we're definitely getting Doc Ock and Electro. We just don't know if we're getting the other Spider-Man. We're definitely getting multiverse because they've confirmed. Alfred Molina confirmed it, but we just don't know if it's Spider-Man himself, if
I just
Toby
feel
or
like
Andrew
we're
are going to be
getting
there.
as carried away as we did with WandaVision when it comes to like theories and stuff and expectations. I feel
True.
like we're getting in that territory where we're hyping something up so much where if it doesn't happen or it doesn't happen the way we think it's happening, we're going to walk out of that movie disappointed. So it's
True.
not that I'm so no, I don't want Toby or Andrew touching this movie. It's that I don't want to just like get into this like theory world. I don't want to get lost in the sauce here where I'm like, oh my God, they're going to be in it. It's going to be incredible.
And then they don't.
And then have it not happen or it doesn't happen the way we think it is. Like,
Right.
I'm just trying to not be in that Mephisto place ever again, you know? Because I feel like we're just getting too carried away. And I just want to be able to enjoy like Tom's movie, you know?
Then
because
again, you did
he is my
nominate it, though.
favorite.
Yeah. So is that why you nominated it, though? Because of Tom?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm just excited to see him again as Peter Parker.
I mean, I honestly think of all these, though, the one that intrigues me the most is probably Doctor Strange, only because it's Sam Raimi, who is an amazing horror director. It's supposed to be kind of a horror film. We're getting Wanda again, who was our number one in our Marvel bracket. Like this has a lot of recipes to be great too. So that's where I'm leaning. But there's a lot of good movies coming out, and I'm fine with any of them. I'm excited for all four of these. Black Panther, I'm only a little hesitant because I'm just not sure what they're gonna do, and I hope it's not the wrong choice. Kind of like what you're saying with No Way Home. It's like there's an expectation of what I kind of want to happen that I don't know if it's gonna happen.
Sure.
But yeah, the other ones I'm excited for. I mean, Thor: Love and Thunder. I didn't love Ragnarok, but I still am excited to see what Taika Waititi does with it. Like, I don't know. It's there's a lot of good picks, so I'll let you talk it out.
I mean, the one that I also picked, didn't we? We both picked Multiverse of Madness.
We both picked Multiverse.
Yeah, so Multiverse I picked obviously just because like I'm the high that we came off of WandaVision, like I'm just excited to explore that more and to hopefully get answers and everything that we're finding out multiverse wise in Loki now. Like I just feel like the past like we 3 out of the 2 or 2 out of the 3 series we got are leading up to this movie. So it's just like, oh my God, like this is going to tie in a multiverse of madness. Like we know it, like, oh, Wanda's going to be in it too. Like this is going to be crazy. Is she going to find Tommy and Billy in the multiverse of madness? Like, I just feel like the more questions we get from these series, like the more answers, hopefully we'll get in multiverse of madness. So I think I think that for me is the most anticipated.
There we go. Why don't you announce it, Kelsey?
So, the Stanley Award for Most Anticipated MCU Film goes to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
That's right. Good announcer voice, Kelsey. You should be a awards person.
Oh my God. Should I? Thank you.
Now let's talk about the most anticipated TV series, because we do want to talk about TV. The next 4 awards are all TV. So it's anticipated TV, and then we'll talk about the acting in the TV, and then we'll talk about the TV itself. This was another one where we agreed on 2 of the picks, and then we each had our own 4th and 3rd pick. So the nominees for most anticipated MCU series are Hawkeye, Secret Invasion, She-Hulk, and What If. And the 2 that we both picked those bottom ones, She-Hulk and What If, and then you picked Secret Invasion, Kels, and I picked Hawkeye. First, talk to me about Secret Invasion. What makes you so excited for it?
Well, I just think that it's such an interesting like element to explore the Skrulls, and plus like I just love the character of Talos. Like for you, how Michael B. Jordan kind of steals Black Panther. For you, like I feel like he kind of steals the show in Captain Marvel.
Ben
Like
Mendelsohn, he's great.
He starts off, you think he's the villain, you think he's trying to like take Captain Marvel down, when in reality, like he's just looking for a place to like raise his kid and like live a peaceful life with his wife, and it just takes like a full like 180 in that movie. And
definitely,
so I'm excited to see if he himself is going to be in it, and that lifestyle and all that jazz.
And we get Olivia Colman and Emilia Clarke, so that's 2 big names.
Yep.
So I picked Hawkeye because I was not gonna be huge on Hawkeye until if you have not seen Black Widow yet, do not say anything, or do not mute it for like 30 seconds. But they tease that Yelena's going to be in Hawkeye, probably, and
maybe,
most likely. And if we're getting more Florence Pugh, That's my number one. I'm being honest. Like, she was so good in that role that I'm like, anything that she's in, I will immediately sit down and watch at 3 a.m. every Wednesday.
Yeah. Yeah, she was great.
So that's why I'm excited. And Haley Steinfeld also is incredible. I love her. Edge of 17 is one of my favorite movies of the past few years, coming of age movies. Bumblebee's the only good Transformers movie because of Haley Steinfeld. And then the other two we both picked. What If? It's coming soon. It's exciting. It's a cool premise. It's animated. It's so different, kind of like Spider-Verse. It's just so unique and different. She-Hulk, again, it's my favorite character, and it's the she version. I'm so excited to just get something else that's just Hulk-centric. And I hope they don't screw it up. So those three series, and Secret Invasion 2, I'm excited for that. But I am so excited for all three of them. So I don't know how to pick.
This is tough. Because I like She-Hulk because, I love the idea of another woman-led project, obviously. And What If it's just I'm just so interested. I was kind of not that excited at first because, it is going to be all animated and obviously they can't make whole movies with
and it's not
these
canon.
actors and all this stuff. But it is, now that the trailers come out, I'm actually super intrigued as to how these storylines are going to play out and how things are going to happen. So I think for me, just because, it's a little unfair because we do have a trailer for this one and none of the others, but I think for me, it's going to be What If.
Okay. I'm very excited for it, but I'm leaning towards She-Hulk only because we talked about how badly they screwed up Hulk in the MCU for Incredible Hulk. The fact that we're getting a second try with Tatiana Maslany, I'm so down for it. But I agree, we got the trailer for What If. It's Chadwick's last performance in the MCU. Okay, yeah, it's What If. Go ahead, Kelsey, announce it.
And the Stanley Award for Most Anticipated MCU Series goes to What If?
That is correct. But really, we're excited for all of those. Now we can get into the series categories, and these were fun. This next category, we each brought 3 totally different actors, so this is going to be tough.
Which category is this?
This is Best Actor in an MCU Series. And
okay.
The nominees are Paul Bettany for Wanda Vision, Daniel Bruhl for The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Tom Hiddleston in Loki, Wyatt Russell in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Sebastian Stan in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and Owen Wilson, in Loki. So, Kels, this is tough. So I picked Paul Bettany, Tom Hiddleston, Wyatt Russell. You picked Daniel Bruhl, Sebastian Stan, Owen Wilson. How the hell do we pick?
Listen, I'm just going to say that, first of all, I do like Owen Wilson as Mobius. Owen Wilson made me care about Mobius and made me care about the relationship between Mobius and Loki.
Yeah.
Obviously, I would love to throw Tom Hiddleston so many nominations for so many different things. But like I said, I wanted to spread the wealth. True. So I didn't nominate him for this. I nominated him, for other things later on. But for me, the standout performances for the men in the series across the board were definitely from Sebastian Stan and Daniel Bruhl in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So the fact that I have to choose between those two, just to pick one to champion, is kind of making me crazy right now, just because they were both so good.
And
so
Anthony
good.
Mackie, who
so good.
didn't even make it because there's so little spots. Anthony Mackie is definitely our 7th if we had to pick a 7th.
For sure.
Those performances are so good.
Yeah. So tell me, try to sell me on yours, Dale, because I don't know. I'm pretty confident in my picks.
Well, the only Emmy nominee of the bunch is Paul Bettany. He rocked it in WandaVision. He really gave such a great comedic performance in the first 2 episodes. And to see him as the person who didn't know what was going on, to see him experiencing it, he almost had just as big of an arc as Wanda, even though his was all in the confines of this, the Hex. And then Wyatt Russell, never have I had a villain that has just been so plain normal human being that I've just hated so much. And I think he just makes you hate him so much. He's just so ruthless. And then Tom Hiddleston, I've always loved Loki, but never on the level as other people. And this show really made me a huge fan of his performance. I think he just gets so much out of the few episodes where he gets his journey and his arc. Because he is in other performances and we kind of knew what to expect, I'm kind of putting Tom at my 3rd. But the other two, also Paul Bettany, like we've seen him in other things, but Wyatt Russell for me was the big surprise of like, wow, he is so good in this role that I hate him so much. And I should have hated, Zemo more. I should have hated, other people more going into the series. But first episode, right off the bat, even the goofy grin, I was like, I hate this guy. So I'm gonna champion Wyatt Russell for this. I think he is the most despicable villain we've had in some time, and even more so than Killmonger, because Killmonger Thanos, it was at least like, oh, I love to watch you be the bad guy, but whereas him, it's like, I just fucking hate you. Like, you suck.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I mean, the reason why I didn't really I didn't nominate Paul Bettany, I think I'm just not that invested in the character of Vision as much, because Vision is like, he's a computer. Like he's literally like a well of knowledge. He's so much wisdom, and he's just so well adjusted that he transformed by him. He doesn't really, like, he did have like an arc. He did have like an obstacle to get over, Wanda herself to get over through Wanda Vision, and that's kind of what he was overcoming in a sense. But there's no internal growth happening in Vision, is what I'm saying. But Paul Bettany, he does give like a really fantastic performance. I just think that they had such great chemistry, him and Elizabeth Olsen, that they just both made each other stronger. And I think that's how they both walked out with the Emmy nominee.
Yeah, and I also think she kind of took the series away at the end. Like, she really, it was her story at the end, her and Agatha, more so than him.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because she was doing all the internal growing, it was all about that. If you are going to, oh no, now Dill's left the stream. It's probably because I talked so poorly about Paul Bettany for the past 30 seconds.
All right, yeah, my Wi-Fi kicked me out. Hold on, I'm having a coughing fit. I'm gonna mute myself. I'm just listening. Talk about the others.
Okay, well, I was just gonna say that if he's championing Wyatt Russell, then I think I'm going to have to put Daniel Bruhl up against Wyatt Russell. Just because I just loved this performance. I loved how we went from not really knowing who Zemo was, but knowing that he was a bad guy trying to take down the Avengers, so therefore we disliked him, to us just like falling in love with this character. He's just like this rich, cool guy. He's a baron. He has private jets. He goes to Madripoor, like he runs the place. And at the end of the day, like, he does sacrifice, or like, he doesn't sacrifice himself, but he does like turn himself into the Dora Milaje, because he just knows that that's the right thing to do. He doesn't try to fight his way out of anything. He's like, no, you got me. And if this is what's going to bring you all peace, then I will go live on the raft.
Yeah, it's interesting because you, at our villains ranking, had him way low. And now, coming out of the show, you like him a lot. And I think that says a lot about his performance in the show.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to back off Wyatt Russell right now, but I'm willing to go to a coin flip, because I think these are two very good performances from characters that, going into the show, no one really knew about. No one knew John Walker was coming, and no one really thought that, Zemo was going to be the standout. But they ended up being standouts, even more so, for me at least, than Bucky and Cap themselves. So,
alrighty, let's coin flip it.
What's what?
Heads, Daniel Bruhl. Tails, Wyatt Russell.
Siri, flip a coin, please. I win that one, Kels.
All right, that's fine. I can live with that.
It's a good performance.
It is.
And the winner for Best Actor in an MCU series, the Stanley Award, goes to Wyatt Russell in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That was a tough category. This one's a little easier because we had two of the same. Best Actress in an MCU series. And the nominees are Kathryn Hahn, Wanda Vision; Erin Kellyman, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier; Elizabeth Olsen, Wanda Vision; and Tiana Paris, Wanda Vision. So I had Tiana Paris, you had Erin Kellyman, and we both had Agatha and Wanda themselves. I have a clear favorite here. I don't know how long we have to debate it.
I have a clear favorite as well.
I think Elizabeth Olsen takes this.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I love the other nominees. All three girls in WandaVision were great. Kathryn Hahn, a lot of fun. But Elizabeth Olsen just got those deep, amazing moments to just like knock us over the head with brilliant acting. So
yep.
So there it is. Kelsey, go ahead.
And the Stanley Award for Best Actress in an MCU series goes to Elizabeth Olsen, Wanda Vision.
That's right. And then we transition to our last of our four best MCU series categories for the best MCU series. The nominees are The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, and WandaVision. There were no other ones to accept there because the other MCU shows like Daredevil and shit are all non-canon anymore. So we got these three shows. Which one's your favorite, Kels?
It's tough. It's tough because the other two are such a close second. I can't even say like a close second and third. Like they're both like just so barely underneath my favorite.
Mm-hmm. But what's your least favorite? You want to start with that? Want to like go from the bottom
I
up?
just told you I don't have a least favorite.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Because my least favorite, I'll say right away, my least favorite is Falcon and the Winter Soldier, only because it's a little bit more generic than the other two. Like the other two just are more just something different and unique in the MCU. Anyway, carry on. Were you gonna say that was your favorite?
No.
Oh, okay.
My favorite is, and I think we're on the same page here, WandaVision.
Yeah, okay, here's the thing.
Oh?
I think WandaVision, because it's complete, is probably better as a whole than Loki. I think Loki, the actual middle of it, I think it started and ended weaker than WandaVision did. But the middle of it, I was more invested. Like, going back and watching WandaVision again, like, the Halloween episode is, like, cute and other stuff, but it's really those last two episodes that, like, really got me. Whereas Loki, like, every episode was so interesting and new and different, but I agree, they didn't stick the landing as well as WandaVision. I think WandaVision's conclusion is really what cements it as the best of the three. I'm with you, but I'm just saying it was close, WandaVision and Loki.
Okay.
I think Loki, because it's only half complete, because they were originally going to do 12 episodes and then COVID halted it, so they decided to break it into 2 seasons of 6. I think if it was the full 12, if we finished it, it might contend, but because it kind of feels half complete, I think right now, today, on July whatever, I think I'm leaning WandaVision.
All right. Sounds good.
So the best MCU series Stanley Award goes to WandaVision. That's right.
WandaVision.
I thought I was going to have to sell you more, but that's good.
No.
You had to sell me more. All right, another tough category coming up. We each had 3 different picks. Some of these are picks you've seen already in this award ceremony for best comedic or villain performance. And the nominees for best supporting actor in the MCU are Paul Bettany, Avengers Infinity War, David Harbour, Black Widow, Tom Hiddleston, Thor Ragnarok, Michael B. Jordan, Black Panther, Paul Rudd, Avengers Endgame, and Mark Ruffalo, The Avengers. Kelsey, you had the top 3. I had the bottom 3.
Okay.
David Harbour, you picked him here. I picked him at Comedic. On the bottom, Paul Rudd, I picked here. You picked in Comedic. And then Michael B. Jordan, I picked both here and in Villain. I just love that performance so much. I nominated it twice. So tell me first about your 3 and what you feel about your 3.
So Paul Bettany is just like, Vision is at such a different place in Infinity War. You know, like he is one of the MacGyvers, if you will. So he is at a standstill where he's just like, well, it just needs to be destroyed. And they're like, well, no, like we're not just gonna take you out. We don't trade lives, if you will. And it's his moments with Wanda that are just so beautiful in that film. They're really the things that ground you. Those is their moments are the most grounding in that film. They're just so enjoyable to watch. Who am I other ones? Oh, David Harbour. I mean, he was just like a standout for Black Panther, Black Widow. He really just was like a standout. He was just so enjoyable and he just made you laugh, but he also had very like heartful moments with Florence Pugh, like in the bedroom when they start singing American Pie together. Like he wasn't just all comedy, where I feel like before you were like, well, Paul Rudd. Yes, Paul Rudd. And I was just saying Paul Bettany. I just realized right now there are 2 Pauls in the MCU.
There are.
Paul Rudd in Endgame is not just comedy. He also has, you know, heart and serious moments and dramatic moments, which is, you know, how I felt about David Harbour. And I mean, Tom Hiddleston. He's just just such a refined, practiced actor. Like, he's just so good at what he does.
Yeah.
And he's just such a great Loki. And
so is that your pick as like who you're gonna champion here?
yeah,
Okay.
he's
Yeah,
for
I
sure my
agree.
pick.
Of those three, I think, I put David Harbour in the comedic one, but I think like as a supporting actor, I think Tom Hiddleston really stands out. In my three, we already gave one to Michael B. Jordan, so I don't think we have to talk about him here, even though he is great, and I think he is my favorite part of Black Panther. That's why I put him here. He's the definition of a perfect supporting actor in that movie. Paul Rudd, like I said, he has those comedic moments, but he also has those dramatic ones that I think set him above even being just the comedic performance. Like I think he's even more than that in this movie. He is a supporting actor in a movie filled with so many leads already. You have Thor as a lead, RDJ, Chris Evans, and Scarlett Johansson and Hawkeye. Yet you have Paul Rudd kind of steal the show. And then there's Mark Ruffalo, and Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner. We talked about how bad Incredible Hulk was. He comes in and makes it just such an enjoyable, amazing character. And to take someone that was the weakest of the Phase 1 movies and become, in my opinion, the standout of the Avengers, the movie The Avengers, I think is big. Because he doesn't have, he's not Steve or Tony. He's not the lead of that movie, but he really does support the group well. And that moment, I'm always angry, is iconic because of that performance. So I think it was a brilliant recasting. I don't know who I'm going to champion here, Paul Rudd or Mark Ruffalo. I think Mark Ruffalo, though, was such a breath of fresh air in the Avengers and is the part of that movie for me that holds up the most. So I'm going to campaign champagne. Cheers. I'm going to campaign Mark Ruffalo here. So okay. Mark Ruffalo versus Tom Hiddleston. I have a Hulk.
we have an army. There's a clear favorite in my mind. I think we might have to flip a coin.
I'm okay,
unless you're willing to sacrifice.
I think you may sway me just because I think I wanted to shout out my three, but I think Tom Hiddleston, we didn't give him the award for best TV actor. He wasn't nominated for best villain. Like, this is the place to award him, and I think his body of work in this whole MCU, his character journey, even though I probably prefer his performance maybe in Thor, the first one, just because it's so fresh.
Sure.
But like, his performance in Ragnarok is really good, and I don't love that movie, but he is so good in it. He gives some great moments, so I think you swayed me. I'm willing to do it.
All right, awesome.
All right, why don't you announce it, Kels?
So, the Stanley Award for Best Supporting Actor goes to Tom Hiddleston, Thor Ragnarok.
That's right. That's the first award for Thor Ragnarok today. So let's see if it'll continue, because I think it's nominated in 3 of the next 5 categories. So let's see. Now we're getting to the nitty-gritty. Best Supporting Actress. The nominees are Karen Gillan for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Danai Gurira for Black Panther, Lashona Lynch for Captain Marvel, Florence Pugh for Black Widow, and Tessa Thompson for Thor Ragnarok. This is a stacked lineup of women. We both agreed on Florence Pugh. I also nominated Danai Gurira and Lashona Lynch. You also nominated Karen Gillan and Tessa Thompson. Tessa Thompson was my 4th. Karen Gillan was my 5th. So like,
wow.
I'm with you. Like they're right on the cusp. Actually, I think I had Karen Gillan though for Infinity War, not Guardians 2. I'm not sure, but or Endgame, one of those others. But she across all the movies, she's just so good.
Yeah.
Danai Gurira is again a definition of a great supporting actress. She supports the lead so well in that movie. A little bit wasted in the other films, but we're talking about Black Panther here, and she's great in that. Lashona Lynch is someone who I was mad in Wanda Vision when they killed off Maria Rambeau, because I loved her so much in Captain Marvel. She stands out for me in that movie. That movie has a really good cast, and she's amazing in it. And then Florence Pugh. I will die on a hill that she is the best thing that this MCU is getting in Phase 4 still. Even with everything coming out in the future, she's going to be the best get for Marvel. So I'm very happy with the 3 I chose, but I love the 3 you chose as well. So talk to me.
So I did Tessa Thompson just because, like, I feel like she's such a different, she's just such a different female character that we get in Thor Ragnarok compared to all the others. Like they're, the other ones, I feel like they're so serious, and it's like, well, I'm the tough girl, so I don't like smile or like do that. Where like she's like tough, but like she's also funny, and she feels more like multifaceted as a character. And she gives such a great like dialect performance that I genuinely thought she was from the UK when Tessa Thompson is fully American. And I feel like that is just like commendable within itself.
That is impressive, yeah.
Florence Pugh, obviously she was like the showstopper, the show stealer in Black Widow, to the point where some people felt like it was more her movie than Natasha's movie. But that's neither here nor there.
It's here.
Who
I would say that.
Okay.
Love Scarlett in that, but like she was the standout for me.
Yeah, for sure. Who was my third pick? I forget.
Karen Gillan.
Oh yes. How could I forget? I think she's my favorite out of my three, because her performance of Nebula is so like consistent and powerful and strong, and like I especially in Guardians 2, because like again, like we think of her as such an evil person. Like no, like she is the person that always wanted to prove right to Thanos, and be his favorite and whatever. And Gamora was always trying to break out of that lifestyle, when in reality all Nebula wanted was a sister. She says, I just wanted a sister. And when they make amends in that movie and they come together, it's just it warms my heart every single time. And I think she just gives such a great performance. And in that movie, in Guardians 2, she gets to have fun with some comedic moments as well.
Yeah.
Which, she takes a bite of that radish or whatever it is, and she's like, it's not ripe. It's just such a good moment. So I think she's the one that I'm going to have to champion for this category.
Okay.
She's so good.
I can't convince you for Lashona Lynch or Denai Guerrero here.
Well, they're very good performances as well, but I think for me, this one's Karen Gillan.
All right, I'm gonna champion Florence though. I think she's just so good. We haven't given Black Widow any awards yet.
I know, but I have loyalties, and they lie with the Guardians of the Galaxy.
That's fair. You want to flip it?
All right, let's flip.
What do you want? Heads and tails? Call it.
Heads, Nebula. Tails, Florence.
Siri, flip a coin. It's tails this time.
No!
Sorry, Kelsey. And the winner.
Rats. That's fine. It's a very good performance.
The winner for Best Supporting Actress in the Stanley Awards goes to Florence Pugh for Black Widow. I am so happy that happened. So here's what's interesting. The next category, Kelsey only sent me 2 nominees, and I asked her for a third. She was like, no, I'm good. I'm good with my 2. So we only have 4 nominees. 3 I came up with, 2 she came up with. So here we go. The nominees for Best Actor in the MCU are Josh Brolin, Avengers Infinity War, Robert Downey Jr., Avengers Endgame, Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man 3, and Tom Holland, Spider-Man Far From Home. Kelsey picked Tom Holland, I picked Josh Brolin, and 2 Robert Downey Jr.'s, and she also picked Iron Man 3. So we both picked Iron Man 3 here for Robert Downey Jr. That is our only commonality here, which I thought was interesting. Okay. I didn't see you picking it, but I was happy when I saw that, because I couldn't decide between the 2, so I said, I'm going to nominate them both. So I nominated RDJ versus himself.
I think that's such a great performance. Iron Man 3, like that, I think that is the best Tony. I mean, maybe an Endgame, because he really,
that's why I nominated both. Yeah,
he does make the sacrificial play at the end, but I think Iron Man 3 is just like, it's so good. That's just such a good movie.
Yeah, I like in Endgame though, the beginning when he's like talking to Cap for the first time. He's like, "You liar, you pathetic," like, and he has that moment where he's like breaking down, and then you see the change of when he has a family, and then at the end when he's fully back in like Iron Man mode. But I agree. I think Iron Man 3 is the more compelling performance. I'm glad we both nominated it because it's so good. The moment with him and the kid, it's just really, really nice. It's kind of like it's a Tony Stark movie, not an Iron Man movie, and I like that. And then I nominated Josh Brolin again. I nominated him here and in Villain because he is the lead of Infinity War and he does it so well. He's so menacing, but he has moments where you actually kind of see his mindset. And the moment where he has to say goodbye to Gamora, where he says goodbye, little one, like I get chills because I'm like, oh, like he's so good. But I'm in the RDJ train for this one. But talk to me also. You nominated Tom Holland.
I did, just because I just think that he's such a great Peter Parker. I think he's so good. He's so endearing. He has such a good like naiveness and youngness about him. Like it's just so good. I will never not commend his performance.
And why here, not
in Homecoming? I think just Far From Home, we get to explore different sides of Peter. Like, you know, that I feel like the stakes are higher.
Yeah.
Strangely in Far From Home, because he is coming off of, you know, coming from space and everything. So it feels like, oh, he's like, I'm not just like a neighborhood Spider-Man anymore. Like, this is very real. Like, people in other countries are being affected by mistakes that I'm making, kind of thing. Right. So you kind of feel more of a responsibility with this character here. So I think we get to explore more.
It's interesting because actually I'm looking, I think Spider-Man Homecoming is the only movie that we didn't nominate in this whole award ceremony.
Wow.
So, yeah, I think it's just because the things we nominate about that are just done a little bit better in Far From Home. I think, and I think his performance is just almost that much better. It's tough. Yeah, I think he is a great Peter. He really is. I almost nominated him actually as supporting in Civil War because that's the first time we meet him. But then I realized I was like, he's kind of the same in every movie. It was just that was the first time we were seeing it, is why I liked it so much. And I just wanted to give other opportunities to other people. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. For me, it's between Tom or RDJ.
For me, I think I want to go RDJ with either movie.
Well, I think we both picked Iron Man 3, so I think we should go for it.
All right, then let's do it. It's settled.
The winner for Best Actor at the Stanley Awards is Robert Downey Jr. for Iron Man 3. Woo-hoo. That's cool. Iron Man 3 got a big award. I love it. So now we go to Best Actress. And there were really only 4 to choose from, I think. But we ended up picking the same 3. And I'm so sorry, Wasp, but you were not one of the 3. But we picked the other 3. Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow, Brie Larson, Captain Marvel, and Zoe Saldana, Avengers Infinity War. These were the right 3, I think. These were the 3 best. Nothing to Evangeline Lilly, but these 3 are more. I just like them better. Let's talk about each one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Natasha, she's been there since day one. We've, lived out this entire franchise with her. Gamora, we get so much of her and just such a there's just such a contrast between her and the other Guardians that, she almost becomes a standout in the way, just because she is the most grounded and, she's a daughter of Thanos. So everywhere she goes, she's a polarizing figure, and
she's nominated here for Infinity War because she has those amazing scenes with Thanos too. Yeah. Not just with the Guardians, but with other characters as well. So yeah.
Yeah.
And then Brie Larson.
And Brie Larson, I mean, she's just great. She's great, and I'm so excited. She makes me excited to see where else Captain Marvel goes in her arc.
Yeah, people give her shit, but I really think she nails it. I think she understands the character, and she understands the limits that she has to take, that other people are like, why wasn't she more this or that? And it's like, no, that's purposeful. There's restraint for a reason.
She understood the assignment.
Yes.
as the kids say. For me, there's a clear favorite, and for me,
I think I know who yours is.
It's gotta be Zoe Saldana in Infinity War.
It's funny because I thought you were going with Scarlet, but that was my favorite as well, is Zoe.
I think maybe for a different movie for Natasha, but I don't even know which one really.
Right. Her biggest role is here.
So exactly. So just because of that, because I don't know, maybe I do subconsciously agree that it's more Florence Pugh's movie than it is Scarlett Johansson's movie, Black Panther. I mean, my goodness, Black Widow.
Yeah.
But for me, it's Gamora in Infinity War, because she's just the heart of that movie, I think.
Yeah, and again, she's killed off, but she is the lead of that movie. She's the lead woman. It's Thanos and Gamora. That's the central story. That is the whole reason he's able to get that Soul Stone. So I agree. Let's talk about it. Or let's say it. Kelsey, go ahead.
And the Stanley Award for Best Actress goes to Zoe Saldana in Avengers of Infinity War.
Yes, nice. All right, we got 2 categories left. We're almost done. We're gonna get this under 2 hours. That's great. The next category, we each pick 3 different directors, so this will be a lot of fun. You actually had 4, but one of them was mine, so you have 4, I have 3. But anyway,
Nice.
the nominees for Best Director are Shane Black, Iron Man 3, Ryan Coogler, Black Panther, James Gunn, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Joe and Anthony Russo, Avengers Infinity War, Kate Shortland, Black Widow, and Taika Waititi in Thor Ragnarok. I love that picture.
He's so great.
So the top 3 are the ones that I picked: Shane Black, Ryan Coogler, James Gunn. Kelsey picked the bottom 3 as well as Ryan Coogler. She picked Joe and Anthony Russo, Kate Shortland, and Taika Waititi. All great picks, all solid picks. I guess do you want to just go one by one since there's so many and just talk about them? Shane Black, I picked. I love his style in Iron Man 3. I like how dark it is at times, but how it's more introspective. It's more about the character stuff than the action, and I really appreciate that. And it's just got a really nice pacing and flair to it. I like the twist with Ben Kingsley. I think that's a really Shane Black move. If you've seen his other movies, it's great. And he's a real actor's director. He got a lot out of Robert Downey Jr. He was our best actor. Ryan Coogler, it's Black Panther. He created this amazing world of Wakanda and brought it even more to life, and the great stuff on Earth or not in Earth, but like other countries and Wakanda and the back and forth and the different duels. And then James Gunn, he's just been really great with the Guardians movies. I like Guardians 2 better. I just love the extra layer of the Yondu stuff in that so much. So that was just a beautiful moment there. So Kelsey, talk about your picks.
I mean, I had to throw a bone to the Russo brothers just because, I keep talking about how Infinity War is just so like masterfully crafted. It was a big project. It was a big undertaking. I think it seems to be across the fandom, at least everyone's at least top 3 Infinity War. It's a fan favorite, that movie.
Okay. Yeah.
Not for me, or maybe not for you either personally.
No, it is for me. That's why I'm looking at you. I'm like, no, I was looking. I was like, you didn't nominate it for Best Picture, Kels, but
no, I didn't, because it gives me hives. That movie, I get anxiety.
Okay. So you don't love it, but you think it's very well done.
No, I think it's very well done. I can respect it that way.
Yeah, okay. So that's where the director comes in. I get it. That's good.
Kate Shortland, like I just loved Black Widow. It was great. It's an MCU film that's like easily in my top 10, if not my top 5.
Cool.
I just think that it was just beautifully done. Yay for women-led projects.
Yeah. We've only gotten 2 women directors in the MCU. We got Anna Boden for Captain Marvel, and then Kate Shortland for Black Widow, and then of course for some of the series. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And then lastly, who else did I have?
You had Taika.
Taika. He's just so he just makes everything so fun and whimsical, but he's able to also I just feel like he's able to bring out the best in everyone on set. The best of Kate Blanchett, of Tom Hiddleston, of Chris Hemsworth, especially. Like he's just able to bring out the best in each of one of those characters, and he's able to take on this this weird family dynamic that the 3 of them have in that movie.
Right.
And I nominated it for Best Picture, so I feel like a lot of that has to be thanks to him. So
yeah. Who are you? And you also kind of picked Ryan Coogler a little bit. Like you said you had 4, but then I was like, oh, I'm nominating him. So you're like, okay, these are my 3.
Okay, great. Yeah, exactly what you said. He introduced us to this whole world, this whole culture of Wakanda, and it's just so beautiful. It was just so beautifully done, and I'm so excited to see what Wakanda Forever has in store for us.
Yeah, it's tough because these are the cream of the crop. I mean, the only one not here that could also be in contention is Jon Favreau, just for what he's done for the MCU. But these were some good directors. I think Shane Black, only because it's so early on in the timeline that it's Iron Man 3 is a little bit forgotten about. It's slept on, but it's a little forgotten about. And James Gunn, I think his movies are great, but he also has such good talent to work with. That's kind of how I feel about Taika a little bit. But I don't know. These are some good choices. What are you thinking, Kelsey, in terms of our winner?
I'm gonna stick by Taika If you really don't want to give it to Taika, then I think I would have to back the Russo brothers for Infinity War.
Yeah, it's tough. The thing is with the Russo brothers is I think a lot of their work is done for them by Feige already. Like Feige already kind of mapped out everything. Like they obviously direct a lot, but like, you know, the whole ability to pull off like all the worlds coming together, like that was also Kevin Feige too, not just the Russo brothers. And I think the direction itself is not like, I'm never leaving those movies being like, wow, that was such a like a well like blocked moment, or like that was such a visually like such an interesting moment. Like it was like the Russo brothers are good directors, but like their direction is never the thing that stands out in their movies to me. If that makes sense. Like I think just the size of it and the blockbusterness of it alone is enough, and the acting. But I don't love Ragnarok, but Taika Waititi did bring his own style to it. I think he's a great director. I think he took Thor in an interesting direction. Yeah, I'm probably backing Coogler just because I love what he did with Black Panther, but yeah, I don't know.
I'm tough. More than comfortable giving it to either Ryan Coogler or Taika.
Yeah, but you also said Russo. Yeah, I don't know.
No, because I get what you're saying about the Russo brothers. So
yeah, I don't know. I don't want to like just make. I don't know.
Do you want to flip?
I feel bad flipping just because it's like I know I'm in the minority about Taika, and I think if everyone were to vote, all our viewers, I think they would be very big fans of Taika. We've already given Black Panther some awards, I think, right? Like we gave it to Michael B. Jordan, we gave it to like the costume design. Let's flip. I have to stick by Ryan Coogler.
Okay.
All right. Which is which?
Heads Ryan, tails Taika.
Siri, flip a coin. I'm so sorry, Kels. It's heads.
The flip has never gone my way.
How about this?
Once this episode.
How about this? Because I know I'm gonna fight.
Listen, if you let me have Best Director, I won't even fight at all for Thor Ragnarok, because I know you're not going to let it be Best Film.
I don't love the movie, but like Taika's still a very good director. I like his other works a lot, and I think he does bring a nice energy to the MCU. I just think it's a little bit too much of the humor, but I do think, yeah, it's good. The award for Best Director goes to Taika Waititi for Thor Ragnarok. Congratulations. I do stand by that. I think it's good. I do think his direction is very interesting. Even more so than like the Russo brothers. I think he really did create a really cool, interesting visual and movie. So I also got a message in the private chat from Kelsey. 10 minutes. Cool. We're gonna wrap this up. Best film in the MCU. The nominees are Avengers Endgame, Avengers Infinity War, Black Panther, and Thor Ragnarok. Kelsey and I both picked Endgame and Black Panther. Kelsey picked Ragnarok. I picked Infinity War. I think, do you want to kind of just talk about the two that we both nominated?
So Endgame and Black Panther?
I think that's what's going to come down to. Really quickly, though, talk about Ragnarok real quick, and I'll talk about Infinity War.
I mean, I feel like it was just so different, and not just for the character of Thor, but just in the MCU in general. Like, it was just such an interesting take and style, as you said, that it was just so enjoyable. Like, you definitely are entertained from start to finish throughout that entire film. So I had to put, it's just one of my favorites. I will always like rewatch. I feel like a movie with rewatchability, as you and Crosby like to talk about, in Great American Film Off, is just automatically, I think, one of my favorites. Like a movie that I can just watch time and time again without getting tired of it. It's got to be one of my favorites, and that's what Thor Ragnarok is for me.
Yeah, and I went with Infinity War only because I love how it's the villain story. I think it's very interesting telling it from the villain's perspective. I like all the world building and crossing over and stuff. And I do think the Russo brothers in that last scene did such a good job with just that like dread and looming death and all the dusting. Like that moment is still so impactful. But let's talk about the two we both chose, because I think it's going to come to, we both want to have nominated the winner for this. Avengers Endgame. The culmination of all these movies come together. It seemed like a feat that was impossible. It's a cool time travel movie. It's a great story on grief. And it's got some great visuals. It's the best fight. I mean, it's so good. And in Black Panther, just culturally so important, so well directed. The performances are great. It has a great pacing, but like there's a real like almost gladiator-ness to it, like those fight scenes that make it feel almost epic and like from a different era, even though it's a superhero movie.
Endgame is just like such a like, I just feel like with Infinity War, like I'm just holding my breath the entire time and I just get tense and I'm just sad at the end of it. Where Endgame, it's like you just get to like release all that tension that you had built up, really only in the last hour. But it just feels like the time heist and going back it's just so fun. It's just so fun how they incorporate literally like every other iconic moment throughout the MCU all in this 3-hour extravaganza. And it's just such a great send off to Tony and to Cap and like really like the original 6, because we're never going to see them the same way ever again.
Right.
And it's just such a great like homage to them. Black Panther, I mean, it was nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars for a reason, like it's just so beautifully done. The characters are just so like intense and iconic in their own ways, and you just love the story. It's just so beautiful. Like even like the opening shots where they're telling you the story through like the sand molds and like the accents, how you're just transferred through this, like you're just put in this different world. Like it's just so beautiful and so moving and full of heart and soul and but also great action. I just feel like it just has it all,
Yeah. It's tough because again, like Black Panther got the Oscar nominee because I think also it works better as a single film on its own. You don't need the rest of the movies. You don't. Whereas Endgame, it's like very much you require knowledge of the other movies, but at the same time, the feat of pulling off Endgame, like it is such a satisfying conclusion. I don't think there was a moment where I was like, I wish his arc ended differently, or I wish she had gone in a different direction. The only person who's left like up in the air without a satisfied conclusion is Gamora, but I think that sets up so much interesting stuff going forward. So like,
exactly.
It's my favorite. I'm gonna stick by it. I'd go Endgame here.
I'm leaning more towards Black Panther. And I already know if we leave it up to a flip, I'm gonna lose because that's just the theme.
I like Black Panther enough. Like, it's such a good movie. Ryan Coogler was who I was campaigning for director. So how about this? You got Taika.
Yeah.
So this is for Ryan, for Chadwick, love you, for Michael B. Jordan, the award. Say it with me, Kels, for Best MCU Film. The Stanley Award goes to
Black Panther.
There it is. So I was trying to get it synced up on the StreamYard at work. So that is our award ceremony. Thank you all for watching or listening. I hope you watched because there was a lot of good visuals. I put a lot of time into the graphics.
Yeah, you did. Good job, Dill.
But this was a lot of fun, Kels. I think we picked some good winners. Every film got represented, like I said, except for Homecoming, but Spider-Man Far From Home did. It got discussed. Every film got discussed, for good or for worse. Sorry, Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
But it was a very fun day doing that.
Yeah.
Yep. Do you have any?
I had a great time, Dill.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything to tease? Fun. We actually don't know what we're doing next week yet. We have to talk about that, but I know you have to run.
We don't.
So it'll be a surprise for y'all. So you'll find out next week what the podcast is going to be. It'll be something fun for y'all. I promise you. But we have some good things on the brew, on the pot. I don't know.
On the kettle. On the stove. On the
stove. That's
back
it.
burner.
On the back
burner.
There it is. Where can they find you, Kelsey?
You can find me on Instagram at Kelsey A. Kilpatrick. You can find me on TikTok. You can find me. Am I 80?
Oh no! See, she was so funny that she just like erased herself from the stream. Anyway, while she's gone, I will just promote myself. While she's gone, oh, there she is. She's back.
Said you are so old you can't even say TikTok correctly. I'm booting you off the stream.
I did not boot you. You booted yourself again.
No, I know. You can find me on TikTok at Cause13, or you can subscribe to my YouTube channel at Cause Productions.
And you can find me at Dylan_Randazzo at Twitter, at DylanRandazzo417 at TikTok, and here at the Dill Pickle Movie Network if you want to see movie reviews, other movie shows. Got a lot planned. We are posting, or we just posted, I think, an episode of Film Off with Crosby about basketball movies where y'all DM'd and I took on the challenge of fighting with High School Musical. So you'll see how that went, because it's being filmed after this podcast, but you'll be seeing it before this podcast. It's Inception. It's weird. Time heist. Loki. Thank you all so much for watching. Enjoy the awards. Let us know in the comments what you think should have won, because we're not right. We're just us.